Well, welcome to a spirited debate. I'm Lauren Green. Georgia, North Carolina, Mississippi, Missouri are among several states dealing with bills over the conflict between religious freedom and the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender persons. North Carolina is on the front burner after Governor Pat McCrory signed the nation's first state law requiring people use the bathroom of their sex assigned at birth. The bill also blocks municipalities from adopting their own laws. Well, Georgia lawmakers threatened a special session after Governor Nathan Deal vetoed a bill that would allow religious protections for clergy and businesses who object to same-sex marriage. Other states and corporations have chimed in, refusing to allow government travel to North Carolina and Georgia or do business with the states. Why are these laws popping up, and where are we headed? Here to shed some light on the issue is Wendy Patrick, an attorney and ordained minister. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
So what is happening here? Why all these state-level conflicts over LGBT issues versus religious freedom? And are we headed for some kind of showdown?
Well, that's most likely where we are headed, because there are plenty of people in every one of our states that don't want to violate their own particular consciences by doing some of these celebrations, if you will, participating in some of these activities. It's more than just refusing to serve someone in a restaurant. The way we're really seeing these laws come up is you have ministers that don't want to perform weddings with same-sex couples. We've seen bakers and other kinds of providers of services that are specific to weddings that don't want to participate in a same-sex wedding. Many of these laws are in direct response for some of these people that sincerely hold their Christian beliefs being fined because they refuse to participate. Of course, their argument is, well, it's not discrimination because these people have plenty of options. There's other places they can go to obtain these sorts of services. But if a person has sincerely held religious beliefs and doesn't want to participate in a same-sex marriage, for example, there needs to be law in the books that protects that individual from being sanctioned, from being fined, from being in trouble with the criminal law even. So that is what we're seeing, is we're seeing state by state attempt to pass some of this legislation, but it's increasingly, Lauren, being met by an emotional response, even more so than perhaps a logical response in looking at the text of the law. That's what we're seeing more of.
Now, I've been seeing this a lot with a lot of hot-button cultural issues, that it seems to be focused on controlling the narrative and how the fight is defined. Is it religious freedom or is it anti-gay? I mean, this is the case where even in North Carolina, where it's about the bathrooms. You know, you should go to the bathroom that's assigned at your birth, not the one that you identify with. So, but the issue is, like, who's controlling the narrative of what this is really about?
You really just hit the nail on the head. It's who's framing the narrative and how do you frame that narrative. If the narrative is to be framed in terms of religious liberty, it's hard to object to a law that says, look, this is to protect Christians that have sincerely held religious beliefs that recognize traditional marriage and do not recognize same-sex marriage, even though they know it's the law of the land. But to then turn around and frame it in terms of discrimination, you can see that that's the sort of emotional reaction some people have, is the way they're phrasing it is, you know, I, as a same-sex or LGBT couple, do not, basically not everyone has to marry me. If you phrase it that way, it's looked at very differently. But if you phrase it in such a way as to recognize that it's not a law about discrimination, and when I say it's not a law, I'm really talking generally about all of these sorts of laws that are percolating through state legislatures. These are not laws that are designed to discriminate against anybody. They're simply laws to protect the religious liberty of those folks that don't condone same-sex marriage based on their religion, not based on any kind of a discrimination argument, but based on their very sincerely held religious beliefs. If you frame it in that kind of narrative, it's hard to object to. So then you got to look at, well, what's the impact? The impact is many of the people that want to have flowers and cakes and photography services and a whole host of other accoutrements accompany their same-sex wedding should go to people that don't religiously object to providing them. There's plenty of providers that are more than happy to enter into that kind of a celebration. These laws are designed to protect the people that don't, the people that believe that to do so would violate their sincerely held religious beliefs. And it's simply a way to try to compromise to where you're not discriminating against people that want to have those services, but you're also not discriminating against people that hold sincerely held religious beliefs.
But how far can you take religious freedom in terms of, you know, how you define it and what the law should be when it comes to that sort of thing? I mean, as you say, there's an emotional issue here, and an issue that they believe is about civil rights, and that religious freedom should not trounce on those civil rights.
The fact that we have same-sex marriage is the law of the land, and everybody agrees with that. What these laws are designed to do is not to basically try to roll back what the Supreme Court has already said, but to protect those who do not personally want to participate in that law. It's one thing to recognize it's the law in the land, and there's nothing in any of these laws that are being passed by the specific states, or I should say, that are being passed by the specific state legislatures, because we'll see how many of them actually get passed into law. There is nothing in any of these laws that say that same-sex people can't get married, that they can't have flowers, that they can't have photography service, that they can't have, you know, top-of-the-line services to celebrate that wedding. What this law really does is it says it just limits the amount of liability that one could face if somebody says, I personally do not wish to participate in that celebration. I personally do not wish to administer the vows. My institution is designed to have bathrooms that correspond to the gender assigned at birth. So what these laws are really trying to do is recognizing religious liberty for those persons that want to remain faithful to the religion they were raised with, to the religious values they hold. These laws are designed to make sure that those individuals are not exposed to potential liability. Because we've seen that Christians across the nation that have said, I would prefer not to provide flowers, not to provide photography, have been fined, and they've been, you know, the fines have been upheld.
All right. I want to thank you so much, Wendy. Obviously, the argument is not over, and it really is a matter of opinion about what is actually religious liberty and what is actually deemed as really more anti-discrimination. I want to thank you so much, Wendy Patrick, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And be sure to follow Wendy on Twitter, at Wendy Patrick, PhD. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.